So I'm pretty sure a lot of you all are aware what's going on, but if not, the Dallas Mavericks and the New York Knicks decided to make a trade with one another, and easily one of the biggest pieces in that transaction was Kristaps Porzingis making his way to the Dallas Mavericks, joining Luka Doncic, and potentially building something that will be very impressive moving forward, especially if Porzingis can stay healthy. But I think a lot of people are way more concerned of what exactly is going on with New York. Why would they do this trade? What do they receive in return? And are they just flat out idiots? And I'll say this, on the surface, it's extremely concerning. However, if you kind of know the full details of what's going on, then it really wouldn't be that big of a deal. So first things first, before we get into the details, let's just look at the trade itself. The New York Knicks will receive Dennis Smith Jr., Wes Matthews, DeAndre Jordan, a draft pick. Now, there isn't any clarification on this draft pick because for those of them who don't know, the Dallas Mavericks do not have their first round draft pick this season unless it falls within the top 5. If not, it will be conveyed to the Atlanta Hawks, and that was part of the whole Luka Doncic trade last season. But for the most part, I can't imagine that the Dallas Mavericks will get away with trading a pick that doesn't at least have the potential to be a top 5 pick. So I'm pretty sure at some point it would probably turn out to be a top 5 pick. And then on the other hand, we have the Dallas Mavericks who receive Porzingis, Courtney Lee, and Tim Hardaway Jr. Now again, on the surface, it seems as if the Dallas Mavericks came out on top with a ridiculous steal against the New York Knicks because Porzingis is leaps and bounds better than majority of the players through this transaction, and he definitely has the potential to be better than everyone else as well. However, let me introduce you to the quote-unquote master plan of the New York Knicks, because this transaction, as a Lakers fan, and I'm pretty sure if you're a Boston fan as well, scares the hell out of you. Now, let me explain. First things first, I'm pretty sure many of you all are aware, but may not understand the full extent of how important this offseason will be. This offseason will have a plethora of free agents. The amount of talent that is up for grabs this year is ridiculous. You have players such as Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, Kemba Walker, DeMarcus Cousins, and a boatload of other really solid complementary pieces. And because of that, there have been a bunch of teams trying to free up cap space this upcoming offseason, and that's exactly what the New York Knicks were able to do in this transaction. They gave up Courtney Lee and Tim Hardaway Jr., who were tying up a lot of money, and they got some expiring contracts in the process with DeAndre Jordan and Wesley Matthews. Matter of fact, Wesley Matthews might actually be bought out, so for the teams out there who needs a really good 3-and-D player for the remainder of the season, such as the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder, I would definitely be trying my hardest to try to get him once he gets bought out. But with that being said, going back to the New York Knicks, they basically have nobody under salary this upcoming offseason, except for some young players who are still on their rookie contract. So they have more than enough room to sign 2 max contracts. And with there being some conversation of Kevin Durant potentially leaving, Kyrie Irving not necessarily sure if he wants to stay with the organization, and heck, even DeMarcus Cousins potentially want to get his bag as well. I mean, we're talking about a lot of potential players being brought to the New York Knicks this upcoming offseason. And here's where, if you're a Lakers fan and a Boston fan, things get a little bit more difficult for you trying to acquire Anthony Davis, which is the second biggest talked about thing in the NBA community over the last 6 months now. And within the last week, Anthony Davis has made it public that he wants to be traded and he will not sign an extension with the New Orleans Pelicans. Because of this, as we all know, the Los Angeles Lakers have been trying to throw out trade offers to try to make this transaction as soon as possible because they don't want to wait until the offseason when other teams, such as the Boston Celtics, can start to propose certain trades as well, largely because, and if we're going to be honest with ourselves, the Boston Celtics, as of today, have easily the best trade package that they could give to the New Orleans Pelicans. But that's only until we figure out what happens with the New York Knicks for the remainder of this season. Because through this trade, not only did they acquire expiring contracts, but they also acquired Dennis Smith Jr. And they still have Kevin Knox, and they have Frank Ntilikina. And also, they are one of the worst teams in the NBA as well. And having the potential to have the #1 pick in this upcoming draft class means that the New York Knicks potentially could trade this year's first overall pick, which many people would suggest would be Zion Williamson. Then you would have Frank Ntilikina, Dennis Smith Jr., and Kevin Knox. And if we were to be honest with ourselves, if you were the Pelicans and that was the offer that was on the table, Quite frankly, it would definitely trump whatever offer the Los Angeles Lakers are going to give you, and it could easily compete with the offer that the Boston Celtics are going to give you. And this is where both Boston and LA are really in trouble. If you are the Lakers, you are really praying and hoping that at worst you get one player through free agency. Regardless of who that player is, Kevin Durant, DeMarcus Cousins, Jimmy Butler, or Kyrie Irving, that is someone that you need to secure, because the reality is the trade package that the Los Angeles Lakers have to offer the New Orleans Pelicans, it just isn't that good, largely because a lot of the players that were set to pop this year, such as Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball, haven't really impressed a lot of people, or at least haven't impressed as much as they were expected to impress. And then if you're the Boston Celtics, you're in this constant tug of war of should you swing big or should you just kind of stay the course, especially because even if Kyrie Irving decides to leave, all of the players you have on your roster have proven just last year that they can accomplish a lot together. And even with that being said, you still don't want to give up too many assets to try to get Anthony Davis in the process, especially because you don't necessarily know if Kyrie Irving is going to stay or leave. And if Kyrie Irving leaves, then obviously Anthony Davis will leave as well. And to be completely honest, just in my opinion, the Boston Celtics actually had the best trade package to give to New Orleans. And quite frankly, they didn't even have to give up all of their assets. But now, not only do you have to compete with the Los Angeles Lakers, you may have to compete with a trade package that consists of Zion Williamson, Dennis Smith Jr., and Kevin Knox. Like, that's a real and legit trade package that I don't necessarily know if the Boston Celtics are willing to compete with. So, in short, the New York Knicks, they have a master plan, and I understand what their master plan is. It's pretty impressive if they are able to pull this off. I personally don't think that they will, but all of the rumors that are starting to culminate around the idea of players wanting to go play for the Knicks, which is probably the first time I've heard this many names willing and really thinking about playing for New York in a very long time. If the New York Knicks are able to land Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, and then trade for Anthony Davis, that will be a huge offseason. So I personally cannot wait. Shout out to the Dallas Mavericks, because I still feel like they did a great job. If Porzingis is healthy and we can kind of get him out there with Luka Doncic, that right there could be a dynamic duo that would be special for years to come. Also, to all my subscribers, I was a day late on my Lonzo Ball video, so make sure you go check that out. It kind of does tie into what we are talking about right now, so go check that video out as well. Also, I was on the Sporting Logical podcast with Tucker. He had me over. We talked about the Los Angeles Lakers, the whole Anthony Davis situation, because I don't feel like I need to make a video about that, because AD is definitely not getting traded within the next 7 to 8 days. It just doesn't make any sense. So if you want to hear my thoughts on Anthony Davis, that whole situation, I'll put a link in the description as well. And let me know what you think about the Knicks, the Dallas Mavericks, Kristaps Porzingis, everything that I talked about in this video in the comment section below. I will see you all next time. Peace.